Katie. It's Catherine with a C, right?
C-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-E. Miller, M-I-L-L-A-R.
And so you grew up in McIntosh County?
Yes, 40 miles west of Wishing.
And your father was?
Gabriel Miller.
Gabriel?
Yes.
And your mother's maiden name? Your mother?
Lacher. L-A-C-H-E-R. Magdalena Lacher.
Magdalena. That's a good German name.
It's not Magdalena, it's Magdalene E.
M-A-G...
M-A-G... M-A-D... M-A-G-D-E-L-E-N-E.
E-L-E-N. Magdalene.
A at the end, but she had, hers was an E.
Okay, good. I'm glad I clarified that. And then your dad's parents' names. Do you remember those?
Thomas and Anna Marie Miller. Anna Marie's maiden name was Auberly.
And can you spell that for me?
A-B-E-R-L-E. Auberly.
Okay, and then your mom's grandparents were... no, that'd be your grandparents, your mom's parents.
Mom's parents, yeah. Philip Lacher.
And is that L-A-C-H-E-R?
L-A-C-H-E-R.
Got it, okay. And then, so were you born in McIntosh County in an old house, or?
No, I was born in a new house, come to think of it. My grandma, I hope you can change that.
Not a problem. That's why they videotape it.
And my mother's name was Catherine, but she wrote hers with a K. And Trushare. T-U-S-C-H.
T-U-S-C-H.
S-H-E-R-E-R.
T-U-S-C-H-E-R-E-R.
Let me start from the beginning. T-U-S-C-H-E-R-E-R. Trushare.
Oh, see now that's is that a German name?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking,
I was told once all of them that end with ER are German.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So did you have a midwife there when you were born?
Yes.
Because I heard that happened a lot down there, that they just came off of the farm and...
My mother had 14 children.
Oh my goodness.
And just the two of them were born in the hospital, the two young ones. But she had, she lost the last 3 babies.
Uh-oh. Would that have made 16 then she would have had?
Huh?
She would have had 16 kids then?
No, 14.
Oh, that included the 14?
That included 14, yeah.
So how important was it that you grew or raised your own food growing up?
Yes, all of it, most of it at least.
And why did you, do you kind of have an idea of how important was it that every family raised their own food?
Well, living 14 miles from town, you didn't go to town every day, like we do now, maybe twice a day to run to the store.
Did you go in on once a week?
We raised cattle and hogs and horses and geese and ducks and turkeys and chickens wasn't much.
Did you eat all of those birds?
And the turkeys, few of them, because when I was growing up, they would butcher them and put them in a wooden barrel, about like a 30-gallon barrel, and ship them.
Do you know where they shipped them to?
No, but somebody said it was a place in Minnesota, like in the cities. I don't know where that I don't remember.
And so that was actually income.
Yes.
For you.
Yes.
On the farm. So did you garden?
Well, yes, my mother had a garden.
Like huge garden? What
Yes.
kind of things did she grow in her
Potatoes
garden?
and onions and radish and lettuce and carrots and beets and I mentioned potatoes. And I know one year before the dry year, she had eggplants, but that's the only time I can remember.
Did you guys actually eat them?
Huh?
Did you guys actually eat the eggplant?
That is so long ago, I don't remember.
Okay.
I wished I knew how she prepared it, but I can't remember that either.
Because that's kind of an
And one
unusual.
year she raised peanuts.
Really? And did you guys get? Did you get a crop of? I mean, it
Yes,
worked.
we had a few of them. We roasted them in the oven.
Well, how about cabbages? You must have raised like lots of.
What?
Did you raise cabbages?
Oh, definitely. I forgot about that. And cucumbers and watermelons and pumpkins.
Oh, okay, good.
And not the honeydews. I said the muskmelon, watermelon, muskmelon, cucumbers, pumpkins. They're for the bloodshed.
So, what was your favorite vegetable out of the garden? Do you have a favorite?
I think the early radishes and like lettuce and that system.
Did you guys have to all help in the garden?
Oh yes, we had to hoe and water. There was a little creek running through right past our farm, and Grandpa Miller, when he came in from Russia in 1906, they made their garden next to the little creek.
We have to talk definitely about what did you do in the winter time for food? Did you can and root cellar and
Yes.
can you
Yes.
tell me how you prepared for winter time? Because you didn't have stuff in the store like we do nowadays.
No, we put it in the jars and then put it on the boiler and cook it on the stove to seal the jars. Put it in a wash boiler, put water.
And what kinds of foods did you do like that?
Vegetables and we did can the beef because Dad didn't butcher the beef until when it was winter, so that it was cold. And like the hams, they smoked those. But I know Mother canned some sausage and she canned some hamburgers or meatballs. And that's the only meat we canned though. We did can chickens. Maybe a few times, but not every year.
So did you have meat all winter long?
Yes, yes. And then they'd buy that salt pork from town and some summer sausage whenever they got to town.
So where did you store your hams? How did you?
In the granary. The beams, no, not the beams, there was, anyhow, there was where they crossed, and then before they put the roof on that, and that's where Dad would hang them.
And the animals didn't get them?
That was in the granary.
So you hung them so that nobody could get to them from the ground, right? You had to.
Well, the animals didn't get in.
How about like mice and things like that? You probably didn't care about that?
No, I don't think so, because we had quite a few cats.
That's right. You wouldn't have mice if you had. And then like the canned stuff. Did you have like a closet in the house, or where was that stored?
That dugout that was under the basement. We stored the canned stuff down there, and the potatoes and the coal was put down there too.
Oh, okay. So you use coal in the winter for the furnace, right?
And for cooking.
Oh, okay, cooking too.
But many mornings the fire was out by the time we got out. Then they had to start fresh. The water was frozen in the water buckets.
Brr. How many kids slept in a bed at your house?
We were two bed, but the first house that Dad built was just a living room and a kitchen, and that Mother said there were 5 of us sleeping in one bed.
Because my mom talks about that, but that's how you kept warm at night too.
Yeah, but yeah, you got close to your partner so that you could keep warm. When the fire went out, got pretty cold.
So tell me about sauerkraut. Was that an important food to you guys?
Yes, that was in the barrel, and they cut the cabbage, and I remember I had to. It was not always, but sometimes, some years, I had to wash my feet and they would lift me in and I would stomp it down, and then the next, so it went down the line, you know, who was the smallest, or about the right size to get in that barrel and stomp it down. Put some salt in and with the cabbage and bay leaves. I know Mother put bay leaves in, and I think whole spice. I think she used whole spice too.
Oh, and where did you get spices from?
That they bought at town.
So did you?
And the
How did you eat?
flour-
How did you? Did you just eat sauerkraut as like a side dish, or just with nifla, or?
We didn't have Gifted sauerkraut, but we those baking powder noodles that you just, your mother cooked the kraut maybe the evening before that for grönbär flash. They'd have like meat, potatoes, and kraut for supper, and she had make lots of it, so that it was cooked the next day when she made those baking powder noodles. She'd put it over there. But there's like the knipla, Mother did not make those, and the knipla that they make nowadays. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, she made the dough with baking powder, and then we roll them in between our hands and make those. But like they were cooked like dumpfnudler too. But dumpfnudler was with rice dough, and these baking powder, the baking powder was the yeast in it, the leavener in there.
And then, so that's how. I mean, keeping things cold in the wintertime was fine, but how about in the summertime? Were you able to keep anything cold, or did you have ice in the summer?
The later years, but that was quite a bit later, they don't. I sat outside with steps down, and then they cut up some ice in the wintertime and put it in there, put straw on it. That's where we kept our cream and milk and that cold. And that was for homemade ice cream then too.
Ooh, you made homemade ice cream?
Oh, often.
Really?
Once we had that ice on it, yes. And the cream was usually in 10-gallon cans, and that was sitting down there until they went to town to sell it. That's why they actually built that ice house.
So
But
did you
I was-
milk? You milked for yourself, and then you also sold some of that.
Not the milk, the cream.
Just the cream, okay.
We separated it, and we sold the cream. The milk was fed to the separated milk was fed to the pigs, or homemade cheese made out of it, some of it.
How do you make homemade cheese?
Well, you let it sit until it's sour enough that it gets kind of clappery. And then Mother would set it on the stove and heat it to a certain point. And then she had cheesecloth, she put it in there. And well, not cheesecloth, it was the bags that the sugar came in. There was white cloth and then the brown bag around the outside. What did you call those bags? Gurney bags, no. Like potato bags, something like that. I can't think of it.
Like burlap?
Burlap. There you go, burlap. And then Mother used those for straining the milk and for straining the cheese afterwards. We didn't have like the strainer that we had later on, where you had the pads and laid them in there and put your milk through to keep everything out whatever was in there.
So was it hard cheese then, or more like a cottage cheese, or
Like cottage cheese.
Okay. So did you make casenafla?
No, that's another thing I don't remember. I left when I was 21 years old. I was gone for 10 years and then came back. But the girls said they started making it then, my younger sisters. They started making, I remember my mother being casket going. I remember my mother usually mixing sauerkraut and rice. I made that for an evening meal, but I don't remember how she made it.
How about glorified rice? Did you guys make glorified rice for weddings?
Later on, not when I was younger, later on.
So were there any special foods that you made for like Christmas? Something that you only got at Christmas time?
Ammonia cookies was one of them.
I had never. Where did you get the ammonia from?
From the drugstore, we bought from the drugstore. At that time, they could get it in the grocery store, like here, Mercantile and Wishick. They would have it. And then there was John Meidinger that had the Meidinger store at Wishick. Those places.
Ammonia cookies. How about, were there any other special treats something that you only got at Christmas time?
Well, like oranges, we just got an orange and an apple in our Christmas goodies, cookies and candy and peanuts and. I cannot remember getting it all.
Really?
I do not remember it all. A handkerchief or a brooch or something. But I do not remember having it all.
How about
I have to ask my two younger sisters. I have one sister that's 10 years younger and one that's 12 years younger. That's the three of us are left from 10 out of 10. I would have to ask them if they got dolls.
Christmas tree? Did you have a Christmas tree?
A little one, an artificial one. Well, and then Mother had candles on that, but we were not allowed to light those, excepting Christmas Eve, you know. We would, when Krishkina would come. We didn't have a Santa Claus, we had a Krishkina. No, we had in our local church, our organ player, he'd say a few prayers. See, ours was a mission. We didn't have a stationary priest. So the priest would come from St. Michael's, that's about 50 miles across. So I never had a midnight mass when I was younger. Until 53 is when the church burnt down. And then we started going to St. Michael's.
So Easter time, was there anything special that you guys did for Easter?
Well, Easter eggs, and Mother made a certain kind of bread for Easter. Like she used a lot of oil in there and sugar and raisins in there and anise flavor.
That was pretty popular
Yeah.
with the Germans because they made
We always
peppernuss.
had to have that now. Later on, the younger children don't even like it. Honey cocoa, my mother made that and they were so good. I have a recipe and I've made it, but
Did you picnic at all in the summer, 4th of July or anything like that?
yes, and my mom and dad died in 67. Dad died August 20th and mother September 16th. Then my oldest sister cried. She says, now we won't get together anymore. My brother says, yes, we can arrange that. And then at 68, on Father's Day, we had a picnic, a family picnic. And we had it going until a year ago. So a few of them came and then they didn't want to go through with it. I was kind of upset with the kids that they didn't want to do it. And my younger sister said, well, there's just a few of them come, we don't. So it was 2 summers now that we didn't have it. Now next summer they want to all get together, which they should have kept up at that time. From 68 until 2 years ago, that would have been 2009, every Father's Day we had that picnic.
And where did you have it? Down on the farm or anywhere?
Sometimes, but lately, mostly we had it out in Lincoln, in their park. They have, the kids didn't want to go to those outdoor toilets anymore in the picnic areas. So they have a little shelter out there, and they have indoor toilets, and they have the stove in there. You can heat up your food and that. That's where we had it the last 2 years out at Lincoln.
Were there any special picnic foods that is there something that your family has a special signature picnic food, or was it just anything and everything?
Well, everybody brought a certain kind of food. When we were together, I was always on for coleslaw for years, and I still am, because they don't make it like Aunt Katie's. And
Creamy or oily? Do you make a creamy coleslaw or the vinegar and oil kind?
Both. For Christmas now, I made both again.
How about German potato salad? Did you make that hot German
Yes.
potato salad?
With oil and vinegar.
Yep, and bacon. Did you put bacon in yours?
When Anderson at the State Library asked me about the agenda, I looked at him, I didn't think he knew anything about it. Yes, his grandma was a kettling from Fredonia area.
Did you make yours the sweet kind or the onion kind?
Huh?
Do you use onions in yours or cinnamon sugar?
My mother did use onions, and my sister still does. Vinegar and onion, vinegar and oil and onion, and little sugar. But my sister said it's not potato salad if you don't use onions. I don't like it. My mother did use onions.
Yeah, I like onions. So how about like root beer or wine or any kinds of things like
Root beer
that?
we made for many years. I don't remember when I quit. I even made it when my brother and I were alone. And wine they made, yes, and they made their own homemade whiskey, that 190, before the Dirty Thirties, and then they quit it. But December 10th, when I was born, my mother said that's what they were doing. They were making this home brew, this alcohol. I'm sure your uncles made that too.
So they made it before the 30s, and then after that they bought liquor or?
Yeah, the 190, that's usually my dad's, what my dad liked most, the 190.
So were you out on the farm during the Dirty 30s? Do you remember any of that?
Yes, we were on the farm until 1926, when my brother that had died. My brother that had bought the place, we lived in Grandpa's homestead,
Until 1986 or 26?
1986.
Okay.
My brother died of a heart attack suddenly, and then I moved to Linton. From Linton, I moved up here.
So how old were you in the 30s? I have to do the math.
Well, I was
you were
born in
pretty
21.
young.
And at the end of the year. So I was about 10 years old when well, in 32, we had a good crop here, but no price for our wheat and that. My dad took a load of rye to Wishick, and it wasn't enough to pay for a ton of coal. Then he came home and he says, I'm gonna burn my rye. So that's what we burned in our heater that winter, was rye. Because prices were so low. From 32 was a good crop, and from 33 on, I think it was about 37 when it started getting better.
How about the weather? I'm always curious about, my mom said they were scared of like the big dust and
Yes, the dust, they were inside, that was inside your house, and the field, I know there were big banks, like snow banks. Our land didn't blow so much, but my uncle's land, well, I had two uncles, and their land blew over onto ours. And after the 30s, then my dad and the brothers took scrapers and kind of spread the soil out again so that they could cultivate that land, plow it and seed it.
so it didn't rain. That's why it was so
No
dry.
rain, wind and dust and grasshoppers and
And where'd the grasshoppers come from?
yeah. It's just like almost like it rained. It was just a cloud coming in and there was a bunch of grasshoppers.
Did you have to go without food that year? I mean, was it tough to, because they ate everything the grasshoppers did as they
Yes,
came through, right?
yes.
So like, did you lose your garden and other crops?
Yes,
and
yes.
then how did you
There
guys
was no other crops, nothing grew.
Oh, how did you survive that?
Well, starting in 35, I think it was about, we got some handout from the government. by the government. Some of the cattle were just shot. We didn't have enough feed for them, and the pigs, and just enough that we had some to butcher again for meat. And I know some of the cattle they just shot.
Wow. That's kind of scary, isn't it?
It was tough. I said the people nowadays should just have one day of what we lived through. They wouldn't spend, or we go to a restaurant a lot, especially where you just go through the line, pick up your food, it'll fill our plate, and then it goes in the garbage, and that was a no-no. That was a sin to waste food.
Well, yeah, and people were thin back then too. I mean, the kids, I don't remember going to school with kids that were heavy. You know, everybody worked so hard, they were...
Well, the exercise that they need now, we did in working. Carry in the water, I remember when I was small, my mother would give me 2 gallon syrup pills, and I had to go over and so did the others too. That's how we carry the water in.
So wash day must have been like really a whole day.
That was an all-day affair.
And did you hang laundry outside in the winter time?
Yes, bring them in, and it was froze stiff. We talked about that Sunday. And then you brought them in and you hung them over strings, either hung around your living room or your kitchen. Well, Mother never put in the kitchen because it was our way when she worked. But in the living room, we tried.
And what kind of clothes did you wear to school? Did you have dress-up clothes for school?
Long johns, underwear, and long stockings, and a dress and a coat. We didn't wear pants that time.
Oh, that's right. You didn't wear... Like, how about when you went to the field, did you get to wear overalls? Or
Then we had overalls for that.
I forgot about that. I don't think I ever saw my grandmother in anything but a dress.
Mm-hmm.
How about the little babushka things? Did you guys have to
Yes.
always wear?
My mother made those out of flour sacks, and then they used to, when you bought something, they'd stick it in a bag. Now when you take it home, they'd wrap it in brown paper and have the store string around it, and she saved every bit of it. And that's one of our pastime in the winter. We had to make the tassels on those. Even for the ones we wore for outside for work, we had to make those tassels out of that store string.
So how about other kinds of needlework and things? Did you do
Mother
anything?
started us young in patching overalls or sewing buttons on the shirts, and then she'd buy white material and or pillowcases, make pillowcases and whatever, and she'd stamp it. We'd have to embroider and then crochet around it. I still knit and crocheted.
You went out and taught yourself how to crochet by buying a book. Is that what you did?
I knew how to make the stitches,
Okay.
but in Sherman.
Okay.
But to read the directions, I want directions for doing this, and then I had to take those learn how books to know which stitch is which. Like there's a knit and a purl in this, and Mother would say for knitting she'd say right, and for purling she'd say left. Well, how can you read that? And she never used a pattern for dresses. She sewed all our dresses. I was 14-year-old till I had a first homemade dress.
Did your grandmother or mother ever tell you work makes life sweet? Is that something that you heard around your house growing up?
Arbeit.
And
Work makes life sweet. Arbeit macht das Leben süß.
there
Did
you go.
your grandpa say that?
See, you know what? I'm going to tell you that I was at my grandma Casement's house one day and she said that to me. I didn't believe.
Arbeit macht das Leben süß.
Yep. And up until that time, I had not known that was something about, we kind of lived by that saying.
If you want to eat, you gotta work. When es muss schaffen.
And so nobody was really lazy back then, were they?
Yes. Oh yes. There were lazy people back there too. they lost their farm because they didn't work. There were lazy people too at that time. Yes.
Yeah, farming was hard work.
Yes. And you were never sure what you'd get. Like when my brother and I started farming, we bought the farm in '59. And then the first year I bought chickens from O'Reilly at Wishick. They hit the hatchery. And I bought the baby chicks on May 7th. And I took them home and put them in the brood house. And on the Saturday, no, that's too warm, I turned it off. And I never needed heat for them anymore. So the second year I bought some ducks, 10 of them too, and raised them. And when they were ready to butcher one night, we came home before it got dark. Well, it was kind of dark, twilight they call it. And went to close the screen door by the ducks. And here the ducks some of them were laying up in front of the little shed that they were in. Something wild had gotten into that little creek we had, like mink and the next morning there was about 3 or 4 walking home, that were injured. And the second year I raised ducks, it happened again. And my brother said, no, we're gonna buy them from now. Every time when they're ready to butcher, that's when this happened. The first years, Mother and Dad moved off the farm in 1959, and she'd always raised my chickens for my sister that lived here in Bismarck at 1212 Broadway. She claimed that pond chicken isn't good. And then when my brother and I took over, then I raised them for my mother and for my sister.
Did you ever find any eggs in those chickens when you butchered them? The unlaid eggs in those chickens?
Yes, but we didn't cook them then. Mother would open them, crack them over if they were fine. She'd use them for baking. And yes, and the geese and ducks were like that too.
Did you use geese and duck eggs for baking also?
Geese eggs? No, not the geese eggs, duck eggs. And for some reason, I didn't like to eat that food. Mother said, oh, you're so finicky. My mother would not waste anything.
Very few of those people I know wasted anything. Like when they butchered, right down to the ears on a chicken, right?
Yeah.